We need you. It's not because you're an asset.
Why then?
Because you're Lucy Carlyle. We can't let you go.
Hello and welcome to Haunting the Narrative. I'm your host today, Natasha, and today with me I have...
Meg.
And Máiréad.
Yay, everybody cheer! Woo!
I refuse. Sorry.
We'll get a cheering by the end. Anyway.
This is a topic that enthuses me.
As you can tell from her voice, I'm sure...
I just sound like this, I'm sorry.
You sound plenty excited many times.
I'm capable of emoting.
Exactly.
Well, whether or not Máiréad is capable of emoting, somebody in Lockwood & Co. I want to say he is actually, but generally he's very emotionally closed off and standoffish. But he has his moments when he is a complete and utter simp. If you don't know who we're talking about by now, this is kind of on you. I'm sorry. So let's just go ahead and define what is a simp, because it's actually got nothing to do with monkeys, and I always think simian. That's incorrect. Meg has the correct details here.
That is very incorrect. So a simp, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is someone, especially a man, who shows excessive concern, attention, or deference towards a romantic partner or a love interest. So while this started out as more of a derogatory term, today in fandom and really popular culture in general, it's really just means someone who is very dedicated to their partner / love interest. And there's someone we know who is very dedicated. And who is that person?
Why? Anthony Lockwood, of course.
Of course. Of course. The man of undying devotion himself.
It does take him a little while to get there, though, doesn't it?
It does.
Sort of.
It does.
It's just lovely.
But the signs are there.
Yeah.
The signs are there from the start, and that's probably one reason why why the ship is so popular and why Lockwood himself is so popular, especially among the women of the fandom. It's just really nice to see someone... I mean, I know he's very young, but, it's nice to see a guy who's not embarrassed by the fact that he likes someone, and he's willing to show, his devotion, how much he loves his friends, how much he supports his friends. He doesn't put people down to make himself feel better. He's always lifting them up and just generally kind of...
Well, unless they're annoying him.
Well, yeah, but if the situation doesn't call for it, he's not one of those people who just generally tries to bring you down.
No, he doesn't do it to make himself feel bigger, I don't think. No.
And especially with Lucy, he is always trying to lift her up.
Yes.
He's always kind of talking her up. He's always just generally being really positive around her. And it's nice to see someone who's so confident in themselves that they're willing to do it. So, honestly, this episode is just a big excuse for us to talk about our favourite Lockwood is a marshmallow moments. What's a marshmallow, Meg?
Like an ooey gooey, soft and sweet, like it's mostly air and sugar. It melts if you hold it up to a candle.
It's gelatin, icing sugar, vanilla flavour, very sticky. You need to really flour up the boards before you use it. But what is it when it's a person?
Okay, so I mean it's a metaphor. It's like, he's a softie at heart.
And you can't peel him off unless you try really hard.
It's like saying he's a cinnamon roll. I think we're all familiar with that term. Lockwood's a secret cinnamon roll. Underneath all those suits, he's just full of love and cinnamon sugar, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, this is true across both the book and the show, and we're going to break our own trend here and talk about book and show in this particular episode. Because, I mean, to be fair, book Lockwood was I'm going to break all the Simpotron records. No one has simped like this since Gomez Adams. And show Lockwood was hold my beer and watch this. So I think it's only fair to include both of them because, they're both so unhinged.
They are, indeed.
Both versions.
So, these are our top moments. Now, the script says in no particular order, but they are mostly in chronological order.
Ish.
Ish, not really.
Ish.
I'll be honest, this outline is, it's more of a guideline, really.
Yeah. They're actually, I would say, we're starting with the end and we're ending with the end, but in the middle it gets a little blurry. But let's just jump in on that.
Yes. So I think if you're talking about Lockwood being squishily, embarrassingly in love, then you've got to talk about the necklaces. Like, this is a 15-year-old who's handing out priceless, okay, maybe not priceless, but very expensive family heirlooms. That's unhinged levels of simpitude. He is microdosing on being a husband.
It is very, like, it's very on brand for your 15-year-olds, though, isn't it? Like,
True.
every 15-year-old boy at some point saves all of his pocket money to buy some necklace for a girl who barely knows his name.
I mean,
Well,
Lucy at least
I'd
knows
like to
his
meet
name.
some of your high school boyfriends.
Yeah, I mean, most high school boyfriends where I came from, if they bothered to call you, that was pretty good.
Okay,
Yes.
look, I specifically said for a girl who barely knows your name. Okay, nobody does it for the
True.
girlfriends, but they do it for the girl who's had them in the friend zone for 4 years.
That's true.
Fair.
That's true.
In the show, actually, the whole thing around the necklace is an especially, like, whoa, you have feelings, man, moment. Because it's like, in the book, like, we've discussed this in other episodes, but, like, in the book, like, him giving her the necklace is such a throwaway moment, but it is still very obvious that it's, like, the first necklace, it's still very obvious that, okay, he cares very deeply, even though he's trying to pass it off as, like, it not being a big deal. But then in, like, in the show, he, like, comes up and he's like, oh, by the way, I just had this thing. It belonged to someone that I cared about. Big, huge puppy dog eyes.
The most puppy dog eyes of all time.
Yeah, like, staring at her wistfully. Like, anyway, so it's much less of a throwaway moment in the show. It's and then he has, like, this cute line about, oh, you've got a good track record with precious necklaces, and it's yeah, it's all very, very cute. But and then later on we have the wife necklace, as everyone calls it, which he literally tells her was a symbol of his father's undying devotion. I don't think you can simp harder than that. Like, to be like, yeah, so I know we're not dating officially or anything yet, but here's a sign of my undying devotion. Want to go out? Let's get coffee.
I mean, I think that you could finish up that statement with, do you want to go out? Or maybe if we survive the night, perhaps you could wear it, or, you know, but he never got that far, did he? And Lucy was just like,
No.
oh, it's very pretty, and handed it back.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think it also shows
Proposal
that
shut down.
Lockwood comes by all of this honestly. Like, any man who gives a woman a necklace and is like, this is a sign of my undying devotion, like, that is a height of sympathy.
He's just following in his father's footsteps.
Exactly.
He really was, because there was so much jewelry in one of the drawers in Jessica's room.
Yeah.
When Lucy goes snooping, one of the drawers is just full of jewelry boxes.
So presumably Donald got in trouble a lot and just bought a necklace every time. Or he was just very affectionate. But yeah, I would like to propose a drinking game for our listeners. If you really want to cause yourself an absolute liver catastrophe, take a shot every time we say simp in this episode, because I'm already, like, it's already starting to lose all meaning for me as a word. Not that it had that much to begin with.
Oh my god.
But anyway, yeah. So the necklaces are a very good example of simpitude.
Let's go back to show.
Oh my god,
Lockwood a
sympathy.
little bit.
Sympathy was right there. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway.
Let's go back to show Lockwood for a second, because he really does outdo book Lockwood in every way, and I do think, again, that's because he's older. We cannot have an episode without me talking about timelines. Anyway, he carries her backpack around after the Bickerstaff house.
Yeah.
He takes her backpack with the skull in it and carries it around, it's just, again, it's such teenage boyfriend behavior. Like, oh, this is what good boys do. You know, they take the bags and they carry them. And I find it very funny that this moment has made it into this episode, mostly because in the books he would never.
Oh my gosh, no.
He would
Like-
not.
I think he makes George carry the backpack.
He does. In the Whispering Skull, he makes
Yeah.
George carry the backpack. And he always, like, makes George carry the heavy bags and things. And he never helps Lucy with her bags. I think he might after she leaves and comes back.
I don't remember.
I don't recall
I don't
that.
know.
He does.
But anyway, he does open up. He does a lot more after she leaves and comes back. So, like, ladies, if your man is just not appreciating you, go leave for 4 months.
Tooting. I hear it's beautiful at this time of year.
Oh my god. Well, but on the note of leaving for 4 months, one of the top Lockwood simp moments takes place in The Creeping Shadow, which is
All of the top. Lockwood simp moments take place in the Creeping Shadow.
Yeah, we could have done an entire episode of just the Creeping Shadow moments. We considered it very briefly. But this is maybe my favorite Locklyle moment in the entire series. Bold statement, I know, which is they're all sitting around in the Creeping Shadow and they're talking about what happened under Akemir's, and George is talking about everything that they found in the prison. He's like, and what did we find in Akemir's? And Lockwood just like grins all cute and he says, I found Lucy. And it's like the flirting. It's just so cute. It's so over the top. And that also, like, just that entire scene is just full of so many pitch perfect Locklyle moments, because Lockwood is also praising her and talking about she's the best agent. If you still worked here, I'd have to give you a raise, Lucy. But you'd have to be working for me, and like all this stuff. It's
he's laying it on with a trowel.
He's really lit. He is not being the opposite of subtle. Let's just say that.
No, that I like to think that in that scene, everyone is just like rolling their eyes at him, like just like. Lucy and Lockwood are just like full on eye contact for that entire scene, and like Holly and George are kind of like sharing sympathetic eye rolls.
100%. It had to be painful for everyone else.
Agonizing. Another, well, I suppose it's not so much a moment, but like a kind of a couple of little throwaway lines about swords. Like gift giving in general is a very Lockwood thing. I think everyone notices the necklaces, but the swords are a little bit more subtle. Like there's the whole thing that he buys everyone new Italian swords in the Whispering Skull. Like, so, you know, there's a great big box of them. There's presumably one each, because he says, oh, I have these new swords, like come and test them out. So obviously he likes to buy fancy kit for the agency. That's maybe not like a Lucy specific thing. But then there's this great moment in The Creeping Shadow when Lucy comes back to her flat after it's been tossed and they've stolen the skull. And she says, oh, there's a lot of expensive agent kit in here that someone could have stolen. There's the fancy Spanish rapier Lockwood had bought me last summer. And it's just kind of like that whole... Lockwood is really haunting the narrative at that point, actually. You know, that whole sequence, like, leading up to her coming back. Like, when she's by herself, she's just constantly referencing him. Oh, he taught me to do this. Oh, he taught me to do that. Oh, he bought me a fancy rapier. And it's just like, girl, that man was hanging all over you. Like, he was embarrassing himself. So yes, the swords are actually another favorite, like, Lockwood way of showing affection for me. But also, in general, actually, they definitely use the rapiers as a form of flirting, and it's quite funny. The, like, the whole Kuriashi turn. Again, poor George in physical pain, while Lockwood's like, oh, let me just adjust your stance there, Lucy. Oh, that's so much better. It's like... yeah, that was an excuse to, like, touch her, obviously. So,
totally
yes, swords, rapiers, flirting. I think those are very strong signs of a Lockwood in love.
I think something interesting that's obviously going on in the background throughout the books is that Lockwood's spending hours and hours and hours training Lucy with the rapier. And obviously he's also training George and Holly to some extent, but it seems that he spent much more time with Lucy, probably because Lucy was more willing to learn. Whether it was for the rapier or the boy, I don't know.
Maybe both.
But by the end of the series, like, she is really good with
sword. Like, she duels Marissa. So.
She really is. I mean, swords are Lockwood's love language. Let's just add that to the list.
Swords are a love language.
Food is a love language.
Necklaces are a love language.
Everything. Yeah.
How is food a Lockwood love language? We haven't talked about this.
Oh, so this is, I think, more of a show thing. But there's that great moment in the show. This is where Stroud has his cameo, if you all don't know from watching the show. But Lockwood is making Lucy toast, and he's just buttering her toast, and he cuts it in half, and then he slides it over to her, and with like a little flourish, and he has never looked more proud in his life. And it is adorable. But
I think like it's funny seeing a scene like in GIF sets versus in the actual show, because in the show he gives her like a super quick tiny little smile, and it's a bit enigmatic, it's hard to read, but if like when it's slowed down in the GIF sets, then he does look quite proud of himself, like it's quite a little, ooh, I did a good thing.
I will admit I've seen many GIF sets of this moment, which may be why I've fixated on it so much. But there's also a deeper level to this scene with the toast, which is that Lockwood is observant enough when he first meets Lucy at Portland Row when she comes for her interview to realize that she's hungry by the way that she absolutely attacks that biscuit. So it's very sweet that then later in the series, we see him make sure that she's getting enough to eat, that she's not hungry. Lucy also very strikes me as someone who gets hangry when she hasn't had enough to eat. So I think he's looking out for that too. But yeah, food is a definite love language. And he loves giving gifts. But I think he also loves practical signs of love in addition to some, dramatic moments.
Yeah. I think it's easier for him that way as well, because he is definitely someone who struggles with, like, saying things directly. We never hear him say, I love you, or, like, he is quite emotionally repressed, but at the same time, he's also constantly giving out these signs of love.
He really is.
Another way that he's always showing how much he loves and values Lucy, and I did kind of touch on this in the intro, but it was a bit of a mess of an intro, so I'll understand if you forgot it. But he's always saying things that are supportive of her. I'm currently rereading The Hollow Boy, so the one that's jumped out at me the most is at Aikmere's, after she sees the fetch for the first time and sees all the spiders, and Holly says she needs to go home, but then Bobby's missing. They can't do that. He takes her aside to check on her and make sure that she's okay to go on, right? And she says, of course I am, don't worry about me, time's running, da-da-da-da-da. And he says, I knew you'd say that. I know how strong you are. Okay then, but be careful.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in that. Was it the right decision? I don't know. If she'd have gone home, Bobby would have carked it. So probably was. It's like he has very high expectations of her because she's consistently meeting them. And that means that he really appreciates and values how skilled she is and how competent she is. And he respects that, which is a great thing in a guy. And oh my God, it's a great thing in a teenage boy. What the hell?
Yeah, it really is. It says...
I was going to say his mama raised him right, but she died when he was like 6, so...
Oh, that's just sad now.
Sorry. His sister raised him right until he was 9.
Gravedigger
Sykes drinks the respect women juice. That's what it is.
That's what he keeps in his hip flask.
Yes.
I mean, this isn't necessarily like a romantic moment.
No, it's like, I think it's more showing affection, isn't it?
Well, and I think it's also a moment where he has deep respect for her, and I think it really comes through here, that he has deep respect for her on a professional level too.
Another one, which is more of a talking up Lucy kind of thing, like at the beginning when she meets Holly, what does he say? Oh, this is our superstar agent who you've heard so much about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Although that is a little bit of a, awkward boyfriend covering his tracks moment. Oh, honey, I was just telling the new hire about how gorgeous and talented and beautiful you are. Okay,
it is absolutely. But I do think that it's true that he's kind of been talking her up the whole time she's been gone.
Yeah.
And also later on, again at Aikmere's, in the same conversation as the I know how strong you are bit, he does say to Lucy that her and Holly compliment each other very well. And Lucy says, she never says nice things about me. And Lockwood's like, actually, you'd be surprised. And again, that indicates that he is talking to Holly about Lucy. And I assume that he's saying the positive things.
That's true.
Yeah. My theory is that, that he's actually, what he's doing with Lucy regarding Holly, like kind of going to Lucy and saying, Holly is so great, isn't she? You guys should get on better. I think he's doing that in the other direction as well. Like, that's the impression I got from that exchange.
Very much.
But yeah, I want to move on to another moment that is actually one of my favorites in the entire series. Well,
I want to interrupt here and say that this is definitely Máiréad's favourite moment in the book because she has talked to me about this like at least 6 or 7 separate times over the last 3 years that I've known her.
God, has it been 3 years? No, it's been
2 years.
It's been
2.
3.
2.
Oh, they both start with a T. It's fine. But anyway, over the last 13 years that I've known Máiréad, every couple of months, she starts dropping me about 10 or 20 minutes of like voice messages saying about this moment, about that moment, that thing, and that
it's
thing
a good
is...
moment. It's pick a box. So, I think like it's actually so subtly romantic, that scene. So I'm talking about a scene in The Creeping Shadow when they're deciding to raid the night market. They have to find some sort of relic to be their inn for that. So Lockwood invites them all into Jessica's room and he starts insisting that Lucy pick the box. So the reason why I think this moment is so special is because Lockwood is very explicitly inviting her into his past. So, I mean, he brings them all into Jessica's room to choose it, but it's her that he keeps saying, pick a box, Lucy. So, you know, it's coming after the hollow boy when, you know, he told her, look, I want to talk about these things, but it's too painful for me. And she then tells him, or she had just told him that she kind of went blundering in there and trampled all over his boundaries and trespassed on some of his most painful moments. So for her to then, like, come back after that and him to just be like, just to invite her in with no resentment whatsoever, with no grudge bearing, with no kind of like, well, you wanted it, so here you go if you insist. He's just really, like, so unbelievably open in that moment. It's like, it's no more closed doors. It's like, here's my past, crack it open. It's your choice. You have to choose this part of me because I can't. And I think that is a bit of a subtext of that scene as well. Sorry, I'm actually going to read a couple of quotes just so that you don't think that I'm rambling like a lunatic. More so than usual, that is. So he says something like, all we have to do is choose something that would fascinate a black marketeer. So Lucy, why don't you pick a box? And then they have like this little dialogue, but Lockwood, this is your parents' collection. Yeah, and it's gathering dust. Let's put it to good use. Pick a box. So that's once, twice. And then she continues to kind of like resist because I think, again, she's conscious that she's trampled this boundary before. She doesn't want to overdo it. She doesn't want to rush back in.
And she hasn't been around him for quite a while as well. And his priorities have obviously been realigned in her absence.
Right.
Very much so. It's really big Mr. Darcy energy. Like, I don't generally think that Pride and Prejudice works as an analogy, like, for Lockwood and Co. because it's not really an enemies to lovers thing.
It's very
with
different.
They're friends from the start. It's a very different dynamic. But that whole thing with Elizabeth's initial rejection of Darcy and him going away, rethinking his life and changing his character because of it, the Black Winter, in my opinion, is Lockwood's Mr. Darcy moment.
So is him bursting into the Fitz office with his shirt mostly off like his coming out of the lake moment?
Exactly. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Ooh, Colin Firth is Donald Lockwood. New fan cast. Sorry.
I think he's too old now. Sorry.
I see it.
No, Donald as the dad. Is he too old for that even? Yeah, no, they died pretty young actually, didn't they?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is he dead?
No, Colin Firth's still alive. But Donald Lockwood.
Okay.
I love Colin Firth. Stay alive forever, Colin Firth.
Yes. Never die, Colin Firth. We can't allow that. Anyway, sorry. So they're having this whole dialogue, and he says, like, he's getting really impatient. He's like, you could try this box, look, or this, one of those. Come on, Luce. It's your skull. We're going after it. You make a decision. Which would you like? So it's not just him going in there and saying, look, I'm opening up a box for you. It's him giving her the choice. Like, he kind of like lays his entire past out in front of her, like, I don't know, like a buffet, and just goes, pick whatever you like. Pick whatever you like. It's all yours. It's like he's handing his whole self to her. Anyway, this is the kind of thing that Natasha gets in her DMs every couple of months. So
For the last 20 years.
If you would like a similar experience for the last 200 years.
It's so good. I mean, hearing you talk about it makes me very emotional, Máiréad. I'm just like, I'm a puddle of feelings now. I'm a marshmallow now.
We're all marshmallows. I have thoughts about Lockwood and Co. in the past, but different episode.
All right, so another moment. Again, it's from The Creeping Shadow, but The Creeping Shadow is really
Creeping Shadow is a
Lockwood's How
rom-com.
to
It is.
Get a Girlfriend book. Okay? He doesn't want to be involved in all of the Owlbury Castle or any of that. He doesn't really want it. He wants to be trying to get his girlfriend back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get her on side, and this is all just getting in the way. Some of it's providing opportunities, but not the ones he wants. Anyway, it does give us lots of moments for this episode. And one that people always love and that I quite like, and that was absolutely butchered in the localization when they changed it to American English.
I don't know who that localizer is, but I have beef with them.
They were just inconsistent as well. This is something that you listeners should understand, is that both Máiréad and I are translators. We're trained to localize things as well. We have opinions about this, like editing,
Big time.
consistency, catch and not be Kate. If it's a cookie in this book, it needs to be a cookie in the next book. You can't suddenly start calling it biscuits because you think, oh, the readers are British enough now. Anyway, back to being British. he looks at her arm, which has been cut by a knife, which is a very British experience, really, because we're just walking about stabbing each other in this country. And he goes, what the hell is this? Are you guys okay?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's talk about this moment.
The Locklyle moment.
Is he kneeling on the floor next to her?
He's kneeling on the floor in front of her, and he's pulling up her jacket sleeve, and he's like, what the hell is this?
And his whole countenance just changes as well, doesn't it? His voice drops, his face darkens, he gets really bad about it.
Oh, I think it says so.
And it just it triggers the 1700s Regency, oh, I'm fainting lady that's hidden within all of us strong independent women, because we just love it when a guy gets protective. And Lockwood hardly ever gets a chance to get protective over Lucy, to be honest, because normally Lucy's there with the sword stabbing the person for Lockwood.
Yeah.
It's kind of, most of the time it's Lockwood trying to hold Lucy by the scruff of the neck as she heads off to kill people. He's like, no, down girl, please don't break my house.
It's a nice little role reversal moment for them that, we get to see him really be protective and caring for her in a very healthy but not possessive way.
Yeah. He's just, it's more kind of I feel bad for the guys who did this if he catches up with them sort of moment.
Yeah.
Very much. It kind of reminds you that Lockwood is a little bit of a scary dude, hey?
Just a teeny weeny bit. There's these little random flashes of extreme violence that he produces out of nowhere. He's just completely sends Ned Shaw face first into the dirt, or
threatens
attacks.
To put a night watch kid in a coffin, or
yeah, he does. There is, or the fight actually with Rupert Gale at the end in the empty grave, that duel they have on the stairs in Portland Row really suggests that Lockwood is a level of dangerous that he doesn't actually show that often.
Well, see, I think that this actually runs all the way through the books, and that he's constantly doing these little violent things. He's very aggressive. But he also knows how to act in polite society, so he hides it well. So it all just kind of feels very normalized to you until it pops out like this.
Well, it's very calculated. He's not doing it just spur of the moment.
Yeah, he's not losing control.
No. He's doing it when it makes sense.
But you wonder how often he's actually angry on the inside and keeping it in.
Why do you think he practices the rapier so much? Because he needs to stab things to get it out somehow. But at least that's my personal headcanon. But another great moment from The Creeping Shadow happens, actually, after this scene, where Lucy's been patched up, but she still lost her skull. So they go off to the night market.
Yes, they go to the
They go to the night.
Is that the Chinese for night market?
Night markets are a big thing in Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's called
I
yes.
just briefly became...
And they sell food and toys. Mostly food and toys, really. So it's a very different deal, unless you're into eating mummified heads and desiccated skulls.
No, thank you. I will pass on that.
Rotting flesh. I mean,
So
you can
anyway.
ferment it and call it a nice.
Give us a good
delicacy.
so anyway there, Meg.
So Lockwood and Lucy go on one of their classic adventures together to retrieve the skull. And, they're plotting, they're dressed up in costume, they're doing all this stuff, they're making ridiculous plans and doing reckless things together, as they both love to do. And in the midst of all the chaos, Lockwood just turns to Lucy and he says, "I've missed you so much." And it is just such a pure little moment. And of course she doesn't even get a chance to respond, but it's another example, I think, of him really cracking himself open in The Creeping Shadow, that he's dropping that so casually on her, and it feels like he can't hold it in. That's what it feels like to me, that he says it in that moment. It's he's been thinking it for so long and he finally just has to let it out. And I mean, he's doing it while he's helping her get her terrible ghost BFF back. So I mean, who he doesn't even particularly like or care about. The level of dedication this man is showing.
I mean, the fact that he's there at all is just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Frankly, okay? This girl walked out on him 4 months ago. He turned up at her door all nicely dressed to impress, there with an agenda to basically all but beg her to come out and give him another shot. Okay, and then she turns up at his doorstep needing help, and he immediately says, "Yes, I will lay my life down on the line. Let's go sort this out. You're not paying me." No, she's not even paying him. He's running a business. Come on, boy. like, you don't have to pay me. I'm just going to do it as a favor. I think he kind of hand waves it like, oh, you can do some consulting or something. But it never comes up how much, like, the lengths he is going to for her. He gets Flo involved. He gets Holly involved. They have to source the disguises. They have to do like 2 days of prep for this so that he can almost kill himself. And I'm sure George is like sitting there in the background going, where's the whiskey? Where's the whiskey? As soon as you guys leave, I'm just going to get drunk because I cannot deal with this. This is just so cringe. What is he doing? You know she's not going to kiss him after it. Like,
Meanwhile, Holly is like, there. That's the boo that like dumped my little brother. Claws out.
Holly must be just so confused because he is so standoffish with Lucy, and he kind of warms up to her again just before Aikmir's.
Yep.
And then I imagine after Aikmir's and like the 10 minutes a day he manages to see her, he's quite nice to her. But then she leaves and he just goes off the rails, and she's like, she must be like,
so confusing for her.
it must be like, you were telling me to schedule you separately to her. You didn't want to see her. You were trying to avoid her. She was causing all these problems. And now you're like falling apart without her. And all of a sudden she's back in town and you're this entirely different boy. And what do you mean you want me to bring my makeup kit so that I can do you both up? Like, what are you thinking? How are you going to survive? What do you mean that's not important? Like, Holly must be losing her mind.
And he's laying it on so thick, like some of these earlier.
So thick.
And it's embarrassing, but it's also just so lovable. It's wonderful.
Yeah. But he kind of goes from his sort of like pathetic, please take me back era to his sort of confident, ooh, she likes me era in The Empty Grave. And that's quite fun too. The longer The Empty Grave goes, like the more outrageously flirty he gets. Like there's the whole kind of...
I mean, The Empty Grave's only over the span of about 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it?
But he fits in a lot of flirting. He fits in a lot of flirting.
Yeah.
That's true.
He's flirting as if the end of the world might come at any moment. But yeah, like you
Not
have those...
inaccurate.
Nothing like the end of the world to like, you know, give you a little bit of courage with a crush, I guess. But like there's the whole, you know, there's a lot of sickening exchanges between the two of them, like the whole move fast always thing, which frankly, I mean, again, I know comparing Lockwood and Co to a contemporary workplace is stupid. However, if my coworkers were talking to each other like that, I would be on to HR so fast. Like I would just be like, this is so inappropriate. Although, yeah, I mean, I do sometimes address work colleagues as "Hey, bestie," so maybe I should stop doing that.
I mean,
But actually,
I think it's fine.
The one I'm.
Do you know what? In Chinese, they start off emails with just.
I
dear.
know because they do that to us in English. They're
And
like,
you think that they forget my name? No. They call you dear. In Chinese as well, they just call you dear.
Ah.
And in
Yeah.
the body of the email as well, they'll be like, okay, dear, so this is what we're going to do, dear. Like, oh, my dear, thank you for your help, dear. And it's like, I don't know you.
yeah,
This is a
it always
professional
comes off as
situation.
really weirdly affectionate. Anyway, we are tangenting hard.
We are, yeah.
Lizzie is not here to restrain us.
It's okay, Máiréad. So go back to the flirty moments in The Empty Grave.
Oh, that was very Lizzie-like. Well done. No, I'm thinking at the moment when they're breaking into the Orpheus Society, which I did once see someone call the... what's the guy who like cut his eyes out because he was attracted to his mother?
Oedipus?
The Oedipus. I did see someone call it the Oedipus
Oh my-
Society one time.
I thought that you were going to call this the Oedipus moment, and I was just trying to... Is this because Lucy looks like his sister? Like,
I didn't know where that was going, but I was really
Sorry, did I
scared.
jump scare you guys?
Yes, that was.
No,
that
no,
was a
I saw
huge
someone
jump
completely
scare.
misname that in a fic one time, and I was just fascinated. Anyway, I'm so sorry for everyone who thought that I was about to compare Lockwood's attraction to Lucy to his mother. But I mean, he does give her his mother's necklace. Yes. Yeah.
no, I
Anyway,
think
let
we
me
should
try
keep
that
it in.
again.
It's quite funny.
No.
We cannot
Anyway,
jump
we'll
scare
let
the
Lizzie have a
listeners.
casting vote on that, maybe.
Right, this is Lizzie from the editing bay, and I vote we keep it because as I was listening to this for edits, I nearly screamed when Máiréad said that, and then I laughed. So I vote keep it in.
Anyway, so this big flirty moment that they have on the way into the Orpheus Society, because like there's this whole thing as well about Lucy like not liking heights, and she really chews Lockwood out for making her making her jump to save him from La Belle Dame earlier in the book. So then when she has to like climb down off the roof and in through the window, and he like helps her in through the window, more excuses to touch, I'm sure. Then he has the nerve, after she's like done this thing which she hates again, because he's talked her into it, he has the nerve to say, "Enjoying yourself, Luce." And it's just such a, oh, you think you're in there. You think you're so in there. I mean, you are so in there, let's be real. But like, he's just at this point, he's just like, I have got a girlfriend, and he's just so pleased with himself.
So
I mean, at this point, his hands are still on her waist, aren't they? Because he's just helped her in through the window, and they're standing there. They haven't let go yet. Yeah.
Of course they haven't let go. Of course they haven't.
Why would they let go?
Why?
Yeah, the next person can fall. It doesn't
I was
matter.
going to say a show moment that we, like, if we were to do honorable mentions maybe before we get to the last one, like that whole discussion in the catacombs when they're like, okay, so how are we going to identify how these relic men came in here? And he's like, role play. Like, that is such a flirty moment. But also, he's like, we're two relic men, how would you get in here? And I just remember seeing someone reblog a GIF set of that on Tumblr with the comment, why are these two relic men standing so close together? Anyway.
That's a moment to submit to HR,
That's
to be
my
honest.
honorable, oh boy, so bad. That's my honorable mention before we get to the end.
Oh, if we're doing honourable mentions, I like how they held hands when they jumped off the roof.
Oh,
I love that.
that is very sweet.
My other honorable mentions show moment, I think I've talked about this in a prior episode, is the handhold after Bickerstaff's house when Lockwood just does like the slide down her arm handhold, which Cameron improvised.
Yes.
And
God
great
bless
choice,
him.
Cameron.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Great.
such professionalism, such commitment.
He knows what the people wanted, and he provided that fan service. And I'm supportive of it. Does that bring us to our final moment?
It does. So our final moment number 11 of this Top 10 Moments episode, is the climax of TEG, The Empty Grave. And if you don't know what happens there, the climax is not actually Lockwood's style shoot. The climax is where Lucy and Lockwood go back to their roots and blow up a building. And when this happens, Lucy goes up by herself to fight Marissa in one of the most cinematic fights that I've ever seen written in a book. Like, honestly, all of the mirroring and the shattered fragment. Oh, why is this not on screen? Why? Anyway, something else that should be on screen is Lockwood bursting in there, and what he says is, "Hey, Lucy, having fun?"
It's just so
She
casual.
says, "I'm having a lovely time." And he says, "Do you need some company?" And just the way he grins at her, the way he just kind of bursts through the doors, the way that his shirt's almost falling off him, a bit like the cha-cha-cha guy from Eurovision.
Now that's my equivalent of Natasha getting so many messages from me about the pick a box thing. Every time the scene comes up, she sends me that bloody gif of the guy with the weird green puffy sleeves, and I have no context for it because I don't watch Eurovision.
I also don't watch Eurovision, and I've seen this
Very cool and
gif
sexy of you, Meg.
many times. And we'll put it on Tumblr just so that
No,
people
we won't. I'm so fed up of seeing that damn thing. I'm not on Tumblr anymore, so.
Look, it's a very funny heavy metal song, but the big point of it is that the guy performing it has a shirt which basically is just sleeves. Like, it's connected like a shirt at the top, but the rest of the shirt is just kind of missing. He's just got long sleeves. And when Lockwood comes in and, like, blasts Ezekiel away and says, "Hey, Lucy," with the big gun in his hand, his shirt has been reduced to tatters. Apparently it would put some of the skimpier La Belle Dame's outfits to shame, is what Lucy describes it as. So he's essentially shirtless, except his sleeves are fine. So he's still wearing long sleeves. It's just the wrong colour.
Couldn't have the forearms out. Like, that would be disgraceful altogether. Lucy might faint if she saw his forearms, let's be real.
She really would. She really would.
On the topic of Lucy fainting, like, Lockwood coming in and saying, "Hey, Lucy," like that, it's just, I kind of feel like Lucy must have nightmares every time Lockwood says, "Hey, Lucy," when he walks in the door or something now, because when he cuts the fetch open in front of her and saves her underneath Aikmir's, and remember, this fetch like looked exactly like him, so he slices it down the middle and she watches Lockwood peel apart to reveal more Lockwood, like the world's worst, most traumatic Russian doll. And he goes, "Hey, Lucy," like, say something a bit more serious, please.
No, he's just so understated about it. He's like, "Hey, Luce, I'm here. How's
What's
it going?
up? James Bond moment.
So chill.
Yep.
I mean,
Yes, I
there
do.
has been a lot of personal growth for Lucy in that, because the first time, like, she screamed when he said that, and the second time she just said, yeah, I'm having a lovely time. Nice to see you too. She's become numb.
Yeah.
Well, Numb are just like really good at dealing with it. I think it's more really good at dealing with it.
I think she was
Yeah.
kind of expecting him up at Marissa's as well.
Yeah, I think
She
She
knew
was
eventually.
100% expecting him to get there. Like, she knows when
Dreading
he
it
arrives,
and
she's
wanting
like,
it.
I was hoping I'd be done by the time he got here, you know? So. But the other great moment about this scene is at the end.
At the end, Marissa tries to kill them, doesn't she? It's like, oh, if I can't have my ghost man, I'm going to murder you both. Like, he's already dead. Get over it.
I think it's more that like I built this London and no one's gonna rule it but me type of thing.
Right.
Anyway, sorry.
You know, she's
Yeah.
going down. She knows she's going down. She's going to take
She's
them
going down.
with her.
You're going to go down with her, basically.
Anyway, Lockwood
okay.
comes rushing forward, stops her from getting close to Lucy, and says to Lucy, you know, for once in your life, do what you're told. Save yourself for me. Go. Run. And it's
The
just-
save yourself for me.
Yeah.
Save yourself for me is just, I'm having too many feelings now.
And actually, one moment that we haven't mentioned at all that I'm kind of surprised never came up is the come off it, you know I'd die for you moment, which we've talked about that on a lot of other times.
It's just trauma-inducing.
It is trauma-inducing. I do think that is actually Lockwood putting his feelings out there. He also says in that whole scene under Aikmir's, he says, you know, I've lost someone I care about before, that's never going to happen to me again. So, like, he does actually say quite a bit about his feelings in that moment, which is very unlike him.
He's fairly straightforward with it when push comes to shove.
But he
isn't
absolutely has to be shoved so hard.
So much. He has to be, like, knocked over the head.
I mean, Lucy as well, 5 books, the only time she even says in her narration that she loves him is that moment when he turns up at Marissa's office.
Yes, and I loved him for it. That's a gorgeous moment.
He didn't hear that.
No, it's true. It's true.
No.
So
But he knows. But
I think he does know. But what I really love actually is the kind of the transition from come off it, you know I'd die for you, which is actually kind of all about him. Like, I'd die for you, you know, it's like about what he's going to do for her. Whereas that, like, save yourself for me, like the emphasis is less on his death and more on her life. I think it shows like a really nice transition in his character and like this kind of growing up in his love.
No, I was going to say, I think it's such a great moment of growth for his character, and it's one of those parallels that Stroud is so good at putting in throughout these books that I think works so well.
I think it's also, I know this is not a Lucy episode, but Lucy's got a similar kind of growth, because when he says, come off it, you know I'll die for you, under Aikmir's, she's just horrified at the idea of losing him. And when he says, save yourself for me, she actually does consider it. You know, she faces the reality of the situation that they're in, and she faces the offer, and she looks at it and thinks about it, and then decides, actually, no.
Yeah.
No.
It is a very like powerful moment when she says like, what would I be running towards? But anyway, I think we'll have to do a separate episode of Lucy Simp moments, but that would have to be about 10 episodes
Separate
long.
5 episodes.
Yeah, she just never stops. We would really have to
doesn't.
work to
She
whittle those
doesn't.
down.
It's just going to be us reading the books. Here there is a ghost part, so we're skipping these 10 pages. Now we're back to Lockwood. And his long coat and his beautiful slender fingers and his long eyelashes and how he looks nice half-dressed. But Lockwood is actually not the only person who kind of fancies Lucy in these books. Lucy doesn't really notice it with anybody else. Like, listen, there is a love triangle in these books, and it's not with Kipps. It's with Skull. That is a huge love triangle. Lucy's the only one who doesn't know she's in it. Everybody else knows. I'm pretty sure Lockwood has figured this out by the creepy
Yeah.
shadow. You
They're in
know,
competition.
they all know.
Yeah.
Lucy doesn't. But there is a big contrast of how, like, these other guys who kind of want her treat her as opposed to how Lockwood treats her. And the biggest one, I think, relates back to that support kind of thing. Like, how Skull talks to her, he's just kind of negging to her all the time. Like, he does tell her that she's special, but then it's like, oh, we're a package deal, you'll do what I say. He does at one point say, you let me out of this jar and then you'll be under my power and you'll see Lucy Carlyle or something like that. Like, he gets quite angry with her a bit, and he's just vicious. But he's constantly whittling down her self-confidence as well, isn't he? Oh, don't wear that dress, your bum looks big in it.
Yeah.
You're so unfit, after she's climbed like 7 stories on stairs, like lugging this massive skull jar. oh, you're so unfit. I know dead pigs that could go better than you. He's just constantly being mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the other kind of people we see fancy her a little bit, like in the show, Kip certainly does. Whether this change was a good thing or not is debatable, but another guy who does show interest in Lucy, albeit only in the show really, Book Kip shows absolutely no interest in Lucy because the age difference is supposed to be bigger. But he does this whole like wet cat routine of asking her out, like looking unbelievably pathetic for such an attractive man. Like, I want to know what the casting call they put out to get Jack Bandera was. Like, was it, we need the hottest man you have, but also the most pathetic? Like, he needs to look like a cat that's been out in the rain for like 5 days straight, but beautiful.
I feel like it was that picture from Doctor Who at the end of like Ten's reign where he's just standing in different places in the rain looking very sad.
Oh yeah, that'd do it. Anyway, so he has like this whole moment of like asking her out, and then he has his like James Bond Smolder moment at the Fitz ball where he's like very obviously like super into her. Whereas,
like staring at her from across the room, basically.
While with the whole "My love's like a red, red rose" playing in the background, like it's anyway. Point being, it's not really a great interaction for Lucy in terms of like, I don't know. He tries to ask her out by implying that her current situation isn't great. Like, oh, you could do so much better than this, and like, you know. There is a certain element of like that moment of the Fitz ball where like there he is in his element, like he's the top agent at like the top agency and he's kind of staring her down. Oh, amn't I so special? Wouldn't you be so lucky to have this? And it's just very different from the way Lockwood approaches her.
And finally, the third and final other man we see interested in Lucy is one and only Harold in The Creeping Shadow, who like some version of Kip's, is also a very much a pathetic wet cat man in his own right. And I don't really know what that says about
Wetter
Lucy.
and more pathetic.
He's very pathetic, very wet. But I don't know what it says about Lucy, that this is the kind of guy she attracts, but it's her burden in life, so I would like to give her a hug. But anyway, again, Harold is again trying to kind of draw, he's kind of doing his own like subtle pointing out to Lucy like, oh, like the things that are bad about her situation. He's reminding her about Lockwood and co. He's talking about Lockwood and Holly and, you know, doing all of these things that make her basically feel worse about herself. And it's interesting, you know, he feeds into kind of this pattern we've seen and with Lucy and her other potential love interests throughout the series.
Whereas, as opposed to these three, you know, Lockwood's never like that. He wants her, he likes her, he respects her.
Yeah, and I think one thing that has always really struck me about Locklyle, and that I think adds another layer to their relationship that I personally find really appealing, is that because they have this front row view of the other person's professional life, they also have a lot of professional respect for each other, and that gives them this additional foundation that a lot of couples don't have. Of course, that's not the kind of foundation you have to have, but it really does add an interesting dynamic. Of course, it does also give them the potential for more conflict. See the Hollow Boy and their fights about how to approach ghosts and deal with other professional things. But I think there's something really moving and there's something really moving and meaningful about seeing the people you love do well at their work. I know that's been true in my own life and in my own marriage. And I think that was maybe a little bit overstated for LinkedIn, basically, interactions. But, you know. Like Anthony Lockwood, my husband, loves LinkedIn. So this is his shout out. But I think it just shows that Lockwood, his relationship with Lucy, it's more than just him being attracted to her or valuing her as a person who could be a romantic partner. He's a simp for her because she's also Lucy Carlyle, the agent. He loves to see her go out there and be great at her job. And like basically, you know, he loves to watch her beat people up, basically. Like he's into it. And it's not just because it's good for his company. It's also for Lucy's own sake. He likes to see her succeed. He pushes her to grow and to be better. And that is, I think, really one of the best qualities you could look for in a romantic partner. And I think it really shows, it's one of the ways that Lockwood is just a really great example of healthy masculinity, in my opinion.
He's so confident and comfortable in his own skin. You know, he's willing to face his failures, and he's so cool with like what he can do. He's great with it. So that's all we have time for this episode. You may be looking at the time count and thinking, what? This is too short. All your other episodes went way over. And that's because we have kicked ourselves in the butt and we are trying to actually get this thing down to a decent size. So please, you know, a little bit of congratulations on this count. Thank you very much for listening.
Give us
to
positive
this episode.
reinforcement. We need it so that we'll go to bed on time.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us all the places online as usual, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.
Bye.